How's it going, everybody? And welcome to USC Coliseum Chronicles Live with Casey Casliner and Terrence Holton. We're both USC insiders bringing you some of the most best USC football content out there. So we really appreciate you for tuning in. Make sure to drop a like on this video. But we have a lot planned to talk about today. Obviously, it's the off season, but there have been commitments. USC's continuing to stack up in its number one recruiting class for the 2026 year. And we have an update on Jonas Williams, who is a big piece of that class in the quarterback room for USC and building that foundation forward. So, Terrence, what are your initial thoughts? We have two commitments this week. We'll get into each one by one. Let's first get into the one that happened first because it was big, right? Talanoa Ely said, I'm choosing between both LA schools, UCLA and USC. He ultimately picks USC. And I think it just shows that USC, continues to dominate in the class, but also continues to dominate LA as a school or LA as a city as a whole, and recruiting over obviously the bitter rival. So what are your thoughts on that commitment from Talanoa Ely?
Yeah, well, it's not surprising that he chose USC over UCLA. As you look from program wise, coach wise, all sorts of that stuff. Overall, top to bottom, USC is much better. I think overall, though, it just shows USC still locking down that California recruiting class. Obviously, he is in Hawaii. Oh, excuse me. He is in Hawaii right now, but SoCal native, moved there last year, I believe. He is I'm not going to say a staple of this class, but it's one of those better defensive recruits that we're really seeing top to bottom. This USC class is just dominating in defensive wise, linebackers, defensive linemen. We'll get to that in a second. But I just think choosing USC over UCLA, biased opinion, I think it's a no-brainer. You look at Deshaun Foster versus Lincoln Riley, and obviously Riley struggled, but it's still 10 times better than Deshaun Foster. So I think the fact that at this point, when we're getting no-brainers of who these SoCal kids are choosing, USC versus UCLA, it's a great step for the program.
And I think it helps, too, that USC, has representation, like these Polynesian linebackers in particular want to come to USC. They want to play under Coach Nua. USC now in the 2026 class has three linebackers, Tagoai, Tuilele, and Ely. And so it's no secret that USC, wants to build up, a linebacker core, and they have 9 on the roster total, but 3 in that class. And so, you're losing Mason Cobb. You want to bring in and build up. That's a big part of the defense, right? We saw the impact that Eric Gentry had last year and previously. And so I think it's huge. And I don't believe USC has any freshman linebackers for 2025. So to add at least 3 for 2026 is huge, in my opinion. Especially a guy like Ely. We can get into the type of player he is. Like you mentioned, he's from Hawaii.
Sorry, I was going to cut you off. There is a Matai Taigoa, true freshman. Okay. He's the only one, though. So your point still stands of building that depth up.
Right. I thought he was 26, but I could be wrong.
He's been reclassified. I'm looking at like this, projected depth chart thing, and it says he's on the roster.
Okay.
So yeah.
According to 247, he is in the 26 class, but I don't know.
Maybe I'm just wrong. Yeah.
No, you're good. But back to Ely. I mean, again, you mentioned, the coaching, the difference in that. And I think too, he's a guy that moved from Southern California to Hawaii. So he's, a player that you don't want to look at in a vacuum necessarily because, the competition in Hawaii is different than Southern California, but he's a guy that knows the area, played at, some of the best competition in Hawaii for that matter. And just a defensive stud, a guy with plenty of, physical traits. He's 6'3", 215 pounds, and, he's class of 26. That's huge. So, yeah, and he also, was considering Cal, Arizona, BYU. So I think that shows to me USC has locked down the West Coast. I mean, obviously, you don't have Oregon in that mix. You don't have Washington. But, I mean, Cal is recruited pretty well. Arizona can always dish it out a bit, and we know BYU can recruit now. So I think it's huge that, he chose them, USC, over those schools.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon did just land Jet Washington over the likes of schools like USC. But regardless, USC is locking down the California recruiting trail. And I am going to recorrect you again because I was right. Taigoa is on the roster for USC. He's a fresh. He was in the 2025 signing day. So that's what I'm saying.
My
What?
bad. My bad. Yeah, 247 is wrong.
Thanks, Warren Hollier, for the support from North Carolina. But Casey, should we talk about the other recruit that committed this week, Luke Waffle?
Yeah, let's go for it. I mean, everyone likes some waffles, right? Big pickup, right? I mean, you added the class, and it's not a local recruit, which is interesting. I mean, we know USC kind of prided itself in that, and that's not a bad thing. It's not like I mean, he's from New Jersey, so it's not like he's gonna want to go to Rutgers over USC, if we're being completely honest. As opposed to a guy you're recruiting from Georgia who, maybe have that homesickness there. But yeah, he's, an edge rusher, very physical guy again. I mean, I said that before. I think his speed is the issue, but I think that's the thing you can fix. USC is trying to, fix his strength department. And yeah, he seems like more of a project player, but I think he's still very good. And he chose USC over, multiple Big Ten schools, including Ohio State. And I think that was huge. A team that just won the national championship, he chooses USC over them. That's big to me. Yeah, 4-star recruit, number 1 edge in New Jersey, I believe. And it's a big pickup. I mean, again, some of these guys might not necessarily see the field a lot when they come to USC, but the fact that they're there, the depth is huge. I mean, the defensive depth was an issue last year. It's huge. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's big to see these guys commit to USC and show that they're committed to, the national championship push that USC is trying to make.
Yeah, massive pickup. As you mentioned, chose it over Ohio State. It was really between USC and Ohio State. USC made a late charge when he was, I believe, on visit last weekend. His brother is also at Michigan as of right now, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, beating out schools like that. Penn State's right there. Beating out 3 premier Big Ten schools, the premier Big Ten schools, I would say, of the last decade, 20 years until USC, Oregon got there. It's massive. It shows how well this recruiting class is. It shows Chad Bowden's vision. It shows really what we think the team is going to look like. It things, Casey, I'm going to my senior year. You're going to your junior year. We're not really going to see these. Well, you might see a couple of these guys on campus, but I'm not going to see any of these guys on campus, which stinks. I'd love to, use my student passes, our credentials up to the press box to see all these guys. But, it's still massive. It shows, though USC is locking down California, yes, they're also going all the way out to New Jersey. They're going all these places where there's clearly a reach to these people. So I love it. It's awesome. I have nothing else to say about it.
Yeah, and I mean, we look at the class as a whole right now. That's 30 hard commits to USC. They got to the 30 mark. I remember a couple weeks ago we were talking, 26, 27. Like they've reached 30, which I know is just a number, but it's huge just to speak on the depth. Of course, it's the number 1 class. They have players at every position, and like you mentioned, it sucks that they lose that receiver to Oregon. But at the same time, when you look at their receivers, you have Roderick Tizano, you have Luke Weaver, Jamron Baker. I mean, there's a lot of guys who, to me, feel better or more committed to USC at the end of the day. And again, you're going to lose some guys. We've already seen a couple guys decommit. So, I think as long as you can keep that push going. I mean, we know NIL is at USC, at its disposal, and the new house settlement, I'm sure, is getting pitched to the guys as being a positive thing, for football going forward. So, yeah, it's huge. And I think those 2 recruits, I mean, the defense for USC has been the issue, right? So I feel like they've recruited really heavy on the defense. So, yeah, it looks like we have a question.
Sorry, Penn State, good correction. Question, you guys think Lincoln Riley and Bowden would go after any high-level recruits they missed out on, like Jet Washington? I'm thinking as long as spot is open, Bowden will pitch SC. Casey, you want to go first with that one?
Yeah, I don't think so. I personally think no, because I feel like USC, we've seen a few other commits decommit, right? And that was mostly because of the fact that USC preached hard that if you're going to take official visits after visiting you or after committing to USC, like Xavier Griffin, right? Then you, I mean, you're not really committed, because we know that the word committed doesn't really mean anything unless you're locking down your recruiting. And I know like stuff happens, right? Like maybe there's a coaching change, maybe like USC, they get more research on it and it's not where they want to go. But I think at the end of the day, you're only truly committed if you're not looking anywhere else, right? It's like a relationship. Like if you had a girlfriend, you're not going to be shopping for other girlfriends. Like you know what I mean? You're going to be shutting that down. And so USC knows that.
Awesome
And
comparison. Awesome comparison.
yeah, thank you. So my short answer is no. I don't think they're gonna go after a 4-star receiver that wants to go to a rival team. I think USC is big on the loyalty part of it, especially in the recruiting trail. We saw what happened with Xavier Griffin, and he was a 5-star. So personally, I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to quickly answer this as well, because you basically said everything I was thinking. I just think a lot of the top guys who USC was pursuing, you look at Brandon Arrington, you look at Ryder Lyons, you look at Xavier Griffin, all guys who are at one point favored to USC, committed to USC in Griffin's part, or even USC was highly in the mix. They're now committed somewhere else or probably not going to USC in Lyons' case. I don't think USC is going to go for them again. I just feel like it's one of those things, as Casey mentioned, if they're not fully committed, if you're not fully in, if you are still planning on taking other visits, then they don't want you because USC keeps preaching you're not taking other visits if you're committed here. So to also agree with Casey, no.
Yeah, and I think to your point, like Warren makes a good point here. It is culture building because I felt like for a while, and I think Lincoln Riley admitted this, and we've talked about this a bit before, but it felt like USC didn't really have a culture. Like it felt like, yeah, okay, maybe they'll, at least in the Lincoln Riley era, which is very short to this point, right? It's only been a few years. It was been, get guys to the NFL, and that was like the end all be all. And winning was important, but it didn't feel like their ceiling was low. But it feels like now it just feels like they're huge on, getting people to care about USC, not just in the program. Like it feels like they want the fans to care more. Like I feel like as a USC fan myself, but I'm thinking more like generational USC fans back in the 70s, 80s, 60s even. I feel like they would have a much bigger connection to the team in the present day if the players were representing LA and cared about LA and cared about California, because that's how it was, right? Like recruiting back in the day, like everyone in California wanted to go to USC, and that stopped for a while, during the Helton years and during the early Lincoln Riley years. And so I feel like it's not just for the players, it's for USC fans as a whole. Because USC is, let's not like ignore the fact that USC football has been sort of, made fun of for its attendance, and it's been made fun of as not a real Big Ten school, even though they're in the Big Ten now. And so it's, I think, huge to like be really, tacked onto the region more than, looking at the shiny toy of a player in Georgia who really isn't committed to USC, just wants to get to the NFL. So yeah, and it looks like we have another good question, but if you want to answer that anymore.
That's a great question. I need to have the class. I'm not looking at the class right now. I think you answer this first. Well, because I'm not looking at the class right now.
I think the easy answer here is Kini Pepe. I think that's the easy answer because I think we've seen Lincoln Riley before experiment with young offensive linemen. Like we saw Elijah Page get a lot of reps as a young guy. Tobias Raymond. Like I don't think like being a young offensive lineman means you can't play necessarily if you have the size, if you have the grit. And I mean, let's be real. Kini Pepe, 5-star. He's 6'7", 320 pounds. Like
already kind of has the college build. Yeah.
I think undoubtedly he's starting. I think Mark Bowman.
Yeah. I was about to throw him in there too. I mean, they have a lot of tight ends right now, but a guy as talented as Bowman, hard not to start a college-ready tight end who's like that, who's so highly ranked, obviously highest rated California tight end in years. I forget how long exactly. I'll also throw in Jamin Winfield, defensive lineman, 6'4", 290. I could see him coming in, at least getting a decent amount of snaps, rotating in and out of maybe defensive tackle position. It depends on really where they want to put him.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these receivers will probably have to ease into roles. I mean, USC, I guess, in the 25 class doesn't really have too many impact guys, but that will.
Well, we don't know that though. I
We
mean,
don't.
like
At
it's too
least
early to say that.
you're right. You're right. I guess the optics got me there.
Yeah.
But like you never know what like a Xavier Jordan can become. He's going to be with the program until probably 2026 unless he transfers out. So yeah, I mean you'll have holes to fill. I definitely agree though. I think the D line will have guys that they're going to want to seek out, barring any transfer portal moves.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the O line too, because we saw this year. I mean, the O line in 24 was very lackluster in a lot of ways. It didn't protect Miller Moss. It really didn't protect Mayava. And it forced them to have to do things they didn't want to do. But I think the direction they're going, I really like the way the O-line has changed. I think they picked up some good transfers, John Ray Reed, DJ Wingfield, and I think that's going to help them, show these recruits, hey, the O-line is a spot you want to be. And I think going back to Bowman for a moment, you're right on the recruiting part. And I think the fact that Lake McCree will probably be gone, he will be gone after this year. He'll have eligibility left. And I mean, Walker Lyons is a guy we look at in the future, but he's also not like the biggest receiving tight end.
Yeah, I mean, all the other tight ends are super unproven. Walker Lyons, Joey Olsen, all of those guys, they're very unproven. So a lot of space where Bowman could fit in.
Yeah. And I think too, like, I know he won't start on day one, very likely, but we could talk about Jonas Williams now because he's in the 26 class. And I mean, can we think about how fun it's going to be to have in the 2026 year, Hassan Longstreet is your starter and Jonas Williams is your backup, learning from him. But at that point, I mean, Longstreet at that point will be, have a year under his belt, at least at the college level, maybe not on the field.
Yeah, not necessarily on the field.
Not on the field, but I mean, he's a very good quarterback. I think he'll get a lot of reps in scrimmage. I think he'll also get some reps when they're up by a lot against like Missouri State. Maybe he'll come in the fourth quarter. So let's talk about Jonas Williams though, because we do have some news on him. Nothing too crazy, but he did compete in the Elite 11 finals, and he did really well in the accuracy challenge. I mean, I think we both have our opinions on the 11 or the 7-on-7 stuff, and how it's not great for college football and high school football as a whole. But it was definitely cool to see. I watched some of the highlights. It was in Manhattan Beach. Jonas Williams, performed well at it. And I think he's a guy who, for his age, looks beyond his years. Obviously a 4-star quarterback. And again, I mean, his direction for USC is developing to become a guy who, is to prove to other schools, like, we should have picked you up. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, say what you want about 7v7. Like you mentioned, we both have thoughts on it because I think it's a little ridiculous. That being said, he went 18 for 22 with 7 touchdowns in the Elite 11 finals, and took 1 sack. Say what you want. It's a good stat line. And obviously, yards aren't a factor because 7v7 is like a 25-yard field, 50-yard, however long it is. So yeah, say what you want about it. Great accuracy though, as you mentioned. And throwing touchdowns, he's going to be a good player. He's if you watch any of the tape, he's mobile, he's physical, all sorts of that stuff. So
yeah, it looks like we if you want to highlight, there we go. We actually made a video on the receivers if you want to check out more in depth, but we can answer it for you here on the spot. I'm personally going to go with Strawn as my number 3. Yeah. I do think Lake McCree as a tight end could emerge, like get the third most touches behind those two, just because of the player he is and the type of offense Lincoln Riley runs. But I think I'm going to go Strawn. He has the big frame. He has the deep ball ability. We know Mayava can sling it. I got to go Prince Strawn here, transfer from Boise State. How about you, though?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he fills out that Deuce Robinson role. Obviously, different player than Deuce, but similar frame, similar length, all sorts of that stuff. 6'5", 6'6", long arms. He can get you in the end zone. We talked about, hypothetically, you want to you're thrown in the end zone inside like the 5. You have Jacoby Lane 6'4", Strawn 6'5", and Lake McCree 6'5", 6'6". That's pretty hard to guard for defensive backs and linebackers. So I'd go Strawn as well.
Yeah, and I mean, there's other guys as well we could look at. I mean, there's Corey Sims, true freshman, who's probably going to get some decent time. Mm-hmm. You have, Xavier Jordan, who redshirted last year, also, basically a freshman. And then Jay Fair, I mean, he's Jay Fair. He's your old reliable. You need a 5-yard gain. Like you can throw it. Cool touchdown against Michigan too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of receiver depth, but I feel like the biggest thing last year was, I mean, Terrence and I both agree on this wholeheartedly, I'm sure. There was too much receiver depth, right? Like it was
a crazy thing to say, but
it was confusing the quarterbacks. It felt like, okay, we have to throw to Kyron Hudson, So I think now it feels a lot more cohesive. It feels a lot more dynamic as a group. And I think having a 1-2 punch that feels unguardable to me, and Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon, we will see when the season starts, is huge. So yeah, but make sure to shoot us more questions, guys. We really appreciate you, especially here early in the morning. You guys shooting questions to us, because we love just talking USC football. But yeah, I think the depth is there, especially for this year. I mean, we could focus a little bit more for these 10 more minutes or so on this year, because that's what is most important right now, I guess.
Yeah, let's do it.
You said we were talking a little bit before the stream started, and you saw some kind of intriguing Heisman odds. Mailava behind some familiar faces, we'll say, like Miller Moss, Dante Moore. Do you want to maybe either pull those up?
Yeah, let me pull that up. Here, I should be able to. Can you see this the stream?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so these are the Heisman betting odds. So as you can see, all the way down here at plus 6,000, where is he? Jaden Mailava right here. Do we think that I think this is a little disrespectful, especially some of the guys have above him. I think guys like Fernando Mendoza, Jackson Arnold, Marcel Reed, he's fine. Ty Simpson, Miller Moss. Miller Moss, I think, will do well, actually. CJ Carr, Dante Moore. I think
Drew
these are
Aller.
crazy rankings.
Yeah. No, I agree. Even Drew Aller, too. I mean,
I think Drew Aller, yeah. Drew Aller makes sense, but
he's the best running back tandem in the country, and like one of the best defenses in the country. Like my point is, Penn State is not going to win football games because of Drew Aller.
Ooh, a little disrespectful. But I just think there's a lot of guys here who are just fine quarterbacks, and a lot of them are just as, even Joey Aguilar now at Tennessee, just as proven, if not less, than Jaden Mailava, who are higher odds. Obviously, odds make no sense, but I mean, think about Dante Moore. I mean, he lost his top receiver in Evan Stewart, and obviously that's terrible. I hate to see such a talented guy go down like that. But they don't know when he's going to be back. He could be back in like October, theoretically, but he's likely out for the season. So I saw a stat like the rest of Oregon's pass catchers have got like 47 in total in their career. So how are you going to put a guy like that over Miller Moss, over Miller? Excuse me, I didn't even mean to say Miller Moss. Miller Moss, Jaden Mailava. I'll keep Miller in there though. I think
sorry, I mean, they're going to rely so heavily on DeCorian Moore, who he's a great prospect, but we never seen him play, so
yeah. And then I mean, Jackson Arnold, a guy who hasn't even won the QB battle there. That's ridiculous to me.
Even Avery Johnson, like right behind Jeremiah Love. And look, I know we don't like Notre Dame, but like Jeremiah Love is legit. I'll say that.
I'd have Jeremiah Love if I had to put Jeremiah a running back, a non-quarterback. It would be Jeremiah Love. And I'm correcting myself. Jackson Arnold's the same as Jaden Mailava, but I think he should be lower. It's possible Arnold's super talented, but he just prayed under Venables, who is a terrible coach in my opinion.
Also, we haven't even talked about Bryce Underwood. He's a true freshman quarterback. Like that's not like that doesn't necessarily. I mean, we saw Dylan Raiola as a true freshman be pretty good last year, but like I just feel like the evaluation is so overstated at this point.
Yeah, I just think some of these rankings are crazy. I'm not gonna it's obviously it's way too early betting odds, but still. Gunnar Stockton, that guy's a major downgrade. Even Carson Beck, that guy is not better than Jaden Mailava. He's a good quarterback. I do not think he's better than Jaden Mailava. Yeah, I'm just looking at this. I'm going through
even Julian saying
unproven. Everything you're hearing from the even Arch Manning, I think he's going to be great, but he's very unproven. But Sayan has not thrown a ball in college football, and his plus 1,500 is what the seventh highest odds or sixth highest, excuse me. That's pretty crazy to me. Everything we're hearing is that he's great, but it's camp. It doesn't mean anything.
The one thing I do appreciate about this list a little bit is the fact that there's not that much SEC, like relative. If you really think about it, I mean, Arch Manning, obviously, like look at like don't
Two, the 1-2 are SEC.
I know, but look like that. That's it till
Mateer,
Lagway.
1, 2,
Okay,
3.
never mind.
Yeah, they're all SEC. What are you talking about?
Well, no, my point is, I feel like the Big Ten is like
Yeah, it's true. I
making a
mean,
bit more of
Big Ten,
a
Big Ten,
stronghold.
Big Ten.
I mean, think about this past year. Like it was Big 12, ACC, Big 10, and Mountain West. Like I feel like the Heisman's becoming a little bit more, spread out. And I feel like it could be.
This is very disjointed, but let me look at what about Jacoby Lane? Is he on here? Oh, ah.
Wait, you forgot the apostrophe though. It's J-A apostrophe.
Oh, right. Ah.
Wow.
What about Lane? What if I just look up Lane? Ah.
Hear me out. What about Waymon Jordan?
Okay, all right. Enough out of you. Yeah, just thought I'd show there. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now. Just thought I would show that though, because it's interesting. Sorry, Mr. Comment. I'm the only one who can operate this stream for now. While Casey, we need to get him logged back in. Was Mayava not completely healthy last year? He didn't look as mobile as he was at UNLV. Was he? I don't know. It's possible that he just the schemes had him running. But
I mean, as a UNLV like secret fan myself,
that is the most random thing ever.
No. Like I watched a lot of UNLV football this year because I thought they were an intriguing. Like I wasn't rooting for them per se, but I was like they're an intriguing team. Like the whole Matthew Sluka thing. Like their defense was really good. So I can speak on UNLV a little bit, and they are a very run heavy team. So they're Haj Malik Williams has a strong arms. He just finished the season there, got picked up by the Raiders. He was a very similar archetype to Jaden Mayava. Strong arm, but can be relied upon to run. So I think it is very much a scheme thing. And I don't think we didn't hear anything about him in camp being hurt. So I mean, there's wear and tear during the season, especially when you're called upon, at the point. Yeah, but I don't think so. I think really the scheme of Lincoln Riley, and the O-line wasn't great either. Obviously, we talked about that already today. So I don't think so.
Casey, we're kind of wrapping up here. Casey and I both have very busy schedules this summer, unfortunately. But as soon as really games start, we're gonna have consistently longer episodes. So we're sorry that these only last about 30 minutes, but we're both very busy. Casey, any concluding thoughts? Make sure to leave us some other comments if you guys have any thoughts that we'll get to. But Casey, any concluding thoughts?
I mean, I think definitely, if you're a USC fan and following the team, like keep an eye on these recruits. There's still a lot more that we haven't necessarily heard from yet. And I mean, 24/7 has a list of kind of like lukewarm guys. So I think, these next few weeks are really going to get down to business for some of these recruits and we'll have the coverage on it. But I think it's a big moment. You just reached 30 recruits if you're USC. I mean, that's huge. That's like a whole roster.
It's almost a whole roster. Yeah, you can field. I don't know the exact position breakdown. You can field a whole team there though by a lot and have some backups.
I think they could field a whole defense.
Definitely, probably. Yeah, I assume so.
Offense, I don't know, but yeah, it's huge. And thank you guys again for tuning in. As always, it's huge, especially if you're leaving comments. We appreciate it a lot.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, make sure to leave some comments in these last couple moments here. Casey and I, once we get back in the season, we'll have day after or so episodes. We'll have preview episodes. We'll collab with some of the other Voice of College Football channels when we do a preview of games, like for Michigan, like for Penn State. They don't play Penn State, but like an example like that.
And the best part about all this, guys, is I will be in the press box at every home and away game, so I'll have insider access, and that we can get to you guys, as soon as we get it, and it'll be cool to go over the atmospheres at some of these games. Playing at Nebraska this year, at Oregon, it's going to be some big games for sure, at Notre Dame. So make sure to tune in and yeah.
Joey Zave got our first Big Ten paycheck. Yes, we did. That $75 million, however much it was, so much better than the Pac-12. Not that those bums in Oregon and Washington are getting nothing close to us. Definitely helping out recruiting. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for us today. Like I said, sorry it's only 30 minutes. We would go longer if we both had time, but we both have very demanding jobs this summer. But once we get back in the season, we'll both be in the press box. We'll both be reporting games, all sorts of that stuff. So, Casey, anything else?
Nope. Fight on. Let's go.
Fight on, everybody, and have a good one.